and welcome to the Candidate Forum hosted by We the People 2020 and Beyond.com. We hope to educate and enlighten the voters of each state of the positions of candidates running for office to represent you. I'm Chris Anders, the Director of the Virginia Constitutional Conservatives, a state political action committee, which is dedicated to restoring Virginia and the constitutionally protected rights of all Virginians. I was asked by We the People 2020 and Beyond.com to interview Chief Jarome Bell, who is running for Congress in the 2nd Congressional seat in Virginia. Jarome is a 27-year retired Navy Chief Petty Officer. He is pro-Second Amendment, pro-life, America First, and a patriot fighting to stop the invasion on our southern border, restore election integrity, and keeping communism out of America. This interview is the first of many to come before the upcoming 2022 midterm elections. We hope you enjoy this up-close and personal interview with Chief Bell, which was recorded on October 13th, 2021. Also, look for me on my upcoming collaboration with We the People 2020 and Beyond.com called Constitutional Corner with Chris Anders, which will be airing on this channel in the near future. Thank you, and God bless.
Chief Bell, welcome to the program.
Hey, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thanks for having me, Chris.
Absolutely, absolutely. We have a series of questions here that I will be asking, and after the questions, if you have any other issues you'd like to address, please go ahead and do so. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with the questions that we have today.
Okay. Hey, can I say one thing real quick?
Sure thing.
Happy birthday to the U.S. Navy.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I missed that date. So, all right. So let's talk about some issues here that are been on the minds of our supporters, and we want to know obviously where people running for office stand on these very important issues. Let's talk first about taxation. For the first time in American history, our current president Joe Biden and his Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen want to tax unrealized gains on inherited property. This would mean you can't hand down your hard-earned family property without your children paying Biden's 43% tax on its current worth. That's a lot of money, and most would have a hard time keeping the property in the family. So the question is, when in the office, would you fight for We the People's rights to private property and protect our right to pass it down to our children without government overreach?
Well, first of all, absolutely. One of my first bills that I'm going to sponsor when I get into Congress is to abolish the income tax and repeal the 16th Amendment. I actually believe that the 16th Amendment is a violation of personal property. I will fight to abolish all personal property taxes, because once we pay for our property, because I have land, I own land, and I own a home that I want to pass down to my boys as well. You know, my father worked his tail off to get that for us. It's paid for, and we should not have to continue to pay taxes on things that we supposedly own and that can be subject to confiscation by the government through personal property taxes. That's just a way for the government to take your property away from you. So I would definitely fight for We the People to end all property taxes, to end all income taxes as well.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Great answer. We're going to move on to executive orders now. We the People know that the office of the president has been creating policies with executive orders for way too long. It doesn't matter when this started. It just matters that it's unconstitutional and it must stop. We also believe past executive orders need to be put under scrutiny and debated. Congress and the Senate should have stepped up and challenged the process, for only they, the legislative branch, are supposed to pass laws. A prime example would be Obama's 2013 executive order HR 4310, which allowed our country's supposedly unbiased news to spew propaganda at will. So the question is, how do you feel about a president's unconstitutional use of executive orders to make law? And, you know, when in office, will you fight to expose this practice, in orders like HR 4310?
Well, first of all, anything that goes on, whether it's in the presidency or in our halls of Congress, that does not comply or go against the Constitution is unconstitutional and should therefore not be practiced. And so with the practice of executive orders, that's legislating from the presidency, and you can't do that. That's why we have the separation of powers. That's why we have the three branches of government. Okay, you can't legislate from the bench and the judiciary, and you should not be able to legislate from the executive branch in the presidency. And so I would definitely fight against that. I will, if there's a bill sponsored, I will support that bill. If there's not a bill sponsored, I will sponsor that bill to limit the use of executive orders in the presidency, because like you say, only Congress are supposed to pass laws, not the president of the United States. And speaking of that HR 4310, that is really, it was the NDAA of 2013, and that bill was so convoluted and so controversial with Obama. I believe a lot of he was upset about a lot of the sections in there that actually limited his power to do certain things in Afghanistan and do certain things within the military and things like that. So, it's one thing that I would like to go back and see is that we have bills sponsored and bills put in front of the president that has one thing on it, one bill, one item. And then, the way bills are supposed to be. Bills aren't supposed to be convoluted with all of these pork items and all these different things wrapped up into one bill, because you don't have a bill at that point. You have bills, and it's not supposed to be like that. You're supposed to have one bill that gets voted on. And I would like to really go back to the Constitution, and that's, throughout Congress, Chris, we have to do that. And, if we submit bills that have laws in there, 10 different laws and 10 different things that the congressmen have to vote on, then you have, and that's where it comes into this compromise thing. And, I have to vote no on this because I don't agree with the other things that's in there. I agree with this one thing, but since they have all these 9 different things in there, I have to say no, or I have to say yes to get this one thing passed, and that's not the way this country is built on. That's not the way Congress is supposed to work. So we really have to get back to being a functional Congress by the Constitution.
Absolutely. Okay, but thank you. Great answer. Great answer. Okay, let's talk about internet censorship now. First Amendment guarantees our right to freedom of speech. However, big tech is censoring Americans and not supporting our constitutional right to freedom of speech on its social media platforms. It even censored a sitting president and Donald J. Trump. How do you feel about the censorship of Americans by social media tech giants?
Well, first of all, the First Amendment is supposed to protect, the right to free speech. I think these big tech giants are out of line. I think they're totally out of order, and I believe they should be taken down. Who does that? Who censors the leader of their country? That happens in no other country. We had Twitter in other countries get kicked out of other countries because of such censorship and things like that. And so I don't understand how we can let that happen to the president of the United States. One, I don't know how we can let that happen to citizens of the United States who may just have another view and that may not agree, with a certain people. I believe that I'm one of the most censored, people that's running for Congress in the nation. Twitter censored me and suspended my account 2 weeks before my election last year. And now they have me suspended now because they didn't agree with something that I said, because Newsmax wrote a hit piece article on me demanding that they suspend me, and they suspended me. Facebook has me suspended right now as well, and that's why I have a lawsuit against Facebook. President Trump isn't the only person that has sued these big tech giants. I have a lawsuit right now against Facebook as well. And, because in our lawsuit, we allege that the courts have misinterpreted the Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, and so, we're arguing that those standard rules of interpretation require good faith, and it must be strictly connected to the rest of the statute, and not just justifying that Mark Zuckerberg, what he thinks, is good for society, because he's not the judge of that. So I'm all for taking down big tech. I'm in a lawsuit now with Facebook, and I continue to pursue the lawsuit. We are in negotiations now. I'm checking with my team if we're going to pursue a lawsuit against Jack, at Jack in Twitter, at this point, because they are meddling in elections, Facebook and Twitter, by taking down, and you notice they only suspend conservatives. They never suspend any Democrat or any liberal off of these platforms, only conservatives. And I believe that's a travesty. And these big conglomerates need to be broken up, and because they are actually meddling in elections, and someone should actually pay the punishment price for that.
Absolutely. Okay, but thank you so much. Okay, let's talk about election integrity for a minute. Okay. Every civilized country in the world enforces voter laws where one has to be a citizen and have an official ID to prove who they are so they can vote. Even Mexico has these laws in the books, and for some reason, the radical left seems to think this is racist. I mean, you need an ID to rent bowling shoes, but not to vote in some places. It's absolutely ridiculous. So what do you think of the Democrats' claim that it's too hard to get an official ID and that it's racist to make that a requirement?
Well, I believe that's a racist statement within itself, because me being a Black American, I can get an ID. Okay. And I know we need IDs for everything. Okay. We need IDs to, I have to show ID to go to the landfill in Virginia Beach to dump my trash. Okay. So you need IDs for everything. So to say that is racist is preposterous. And and it's just race baiting, and but that's what the Democrats do well, other than projection. They project well. They try to project the racism onto the Republican Party when it's them that are actually the racist. So as far as election integrity, yes, I will vote, and I believe that there needs to be a voter ID. I mean, we actually fought wars in countries, namely Iraq, to get people to vote. Remember the purple finger, right? The people have to put the ink on their finger, for their mark and for their fingerprint to identify that that's their vote, that's them. So if we can go and fight wars in Afghanistan and Iraq for fair and free elections, then I believe that we darn sure should be able to and make sure that we have free and fair elections to where every citizen's vote count, and one man, one vote, like it's supposed to be in the Constitution, not like what they're doing with these Dominion machines where, they're doing decimal voting, and fractional voting is what they're calling it. So it's not one man, one vote. Our election system right now is in shambles, and we have to get it back to where it's supposed to be. I'm going back to paper ballots and counting the paper ballots, one man, one vote, and that's the way it should be, with an ID.
All right, thank you so much. If you've been watching the news at all, you realize there's been a lot of discussion about school boards recently. So we have a question about that. One of the greatest side effects of the current administration's lawless front on the people is that parents are now going to school board meetings demanding accountability. Around the country, parents are rightfully concerned about teachers' actions in classes, including promoting their personal radical agendas, immorality, and using taxpayer funds to indoctrinate the children by forcing, teaching such as the racist critical race theory curriculum. And as typical in authoritarian governments, Biden's Attorney General, Merrick Garland, just said he's looking into investigating and prosecuting parents under powers granted by the Patriot Act for simply exercising their First Amendment right to vent their frustrations in a public forum. So the question is twofold. First, we support the right of parents to address their concerns against out-of-control school boards? And secondly, what actions will you take to be sure the government never again has the power to oppress American citizens through the ill-named Patriot Act?
Well, first of all, we elect the school boards. The school boards work for us. We should have a say in what is taught to our children, and we have a say. And that's why I'm really a big supporter of the abolishment of the Department of Education, because the Department of Education has not fulfilled their requirements and their responsibilities to our children, for our children, and to regulate what's taught in America. So I would, at the federal level, I believe that the school boards and the departments of education should be passed back down to the state level, where we, the people, have more control of that department. And if any school board don't recognize parents, I believe those school board members should be removed. We're having a big fight down here in Virginia Beach, just like in Loudoun County right now, with the CRT, with the sexualization of our students, of our young students. And I believe that's definitely wrong. And I believe Lieutenant Governor in North Carolina Mark Robinson called it filth, and it is filth, and I back that statement 100%. Our young children should not be taught sexualization. Should not be books of pornography in our schools. And just because we have our children's best interests at heart, we are responsible for our children, not the school board, not the government. And I back parents 100%. I've been at the school board meetings. I've talked at plenty of school board meetings. They've cut me off. They've threatened to throw me out of school board meetings because I'm a big supporter of that. And as far as the second question goes, I was a non-supporter of the Paycheck Act when it first came out because I saw that could be used against the American people. And I told people when the Paycheck Act started, this is going to be used against us at some point. I will not vote for the Paycheck Act. I will not vote to continue the Paycheck Act. And I will vote to let that rescind and abolish the Paycheck Act because now it's being used in an ill-advised manner against the citizens of the United States.
All right. Thank you so much. We're going to move on now to immigrations and our national borders. The Nobel Peace Prize winning economist Milton Friedman said, "It's just obvious you can't have free immigration in a welfare state. It's just basic math. No country in this world can afford open borders and allow anyone to come in and collect benefits and put stress on our welfare system and our already overcrowded school system. We should be focusing on our own citizens. Even Mexico has a strict immigration policy. We have had sane immigration laws in place for decades, but we simply need them enforced." So the question to you, Chief Bell, is what will you do to fight for our country's sovereignty once you are elected?
Well, we definitely have to go back to, once again, our Constitution. And what's happening with that, people are using the 14th Amendment in an inappropriate manner. Everybody gets free and fair treatment, is what they call it. But the 14th Amendment wasn't for illegal aliens. It wasn't for people that are coming to our country illegally. We have to enforce our borders. We have to enforce our laws. And I was one of the first people last year. You can go and you can look on my campaign page. It's still up there, and I'm not removing it. And it's the reason I was suspended off of Twitter last year, 2 weeks before my election. And that was because of my immigration moratorium stance. I ran on an immigration moratorium for at least the next 10 years because we don't know who's in our country. We have to find out who's in our country. And the people that are here illegally need to leave our country, need to be put out of our country. Because like I say, they are draining our resources. And and taking it to a personal level, to be honest, the illegal immigration hurts the Black community and the poor white community the most because that's where the people are. That's where they go and they drain our resources. They crowd our schools, and so, I'm a big proponent of it. That can't be done because it hurts our children. I'm America First candidate, and I will always be America First candidate. We have to take care of America first. We need to secure the borders, whether if that's by a wall, if that's by, a group of men down there, supporting our border and protecting our border. We have to do that, but really have to do that because one of the things that the Constitution says, as far as the president, he must protect the United States. Any president that is not protecting the United States is in violation of his oath. He's supposed to protect the citizens of the United States first. And with our borders being unsecure and our borders being wide open, the president of the United States, whoever it may be, is not supporting the Constitution. He is not living up to his oath, and that president should be impeached or removed from office.
Okay, well, thank you. I have some more questions here. I'm going to start with, I'm going to talk a little bit about monetary policy, okay, because not a lot of people pay attention to this, but it's a very important topic. Since 1913, the Federal Reserve, with very little oversight, has destroyed the value of our dollar by 97%. Over the past 18 months, one stimulus package after another has been papered over by the Federal Reserve, printing money out of thin air. And now we, the people, are seeing the price of everything going up due to the inflation that the Federal Reserve printing press has caused. What will you do about this?
Well, I'm a supporter of End the Fed. I know Ron Paul was a big thorn in their side about ending the Fed, and I joined that movement, End the Fed. And I will be sponsoring another bill to end the Fed. The Fed is it is not a federal agency. First of all, it's illegal. Like I said, 1913, Woodrow Wilson put that in place. We need to go back, and I believe President Trump was actually trying to take us back there going back on the gold standard and the silver standard of monetary, because that is the correct monetary system of the United States, not the fiat currency, the paper money that only drives inflation. It's not worth anything until it's borrowed. And that's the thing. People don't understand money. They don't understand how money is created. They don't understand how money is used, and it's used against the people. And I'm all for an Iceland. I'm all for an Iceland. Let's kick out all the bankers. Let's go back to our monetary system. And if we have to default on our loans, we have to default on our loans. But Iceland is doing pretty well right now. So I'm all for ending the Fed, kicking out the bankers out of our country, and I'm not subjugating the citizens of the United States, our children, us and our grandchildren and their grandchildren, with this debt that is not ours. This debt is not the citizens of the country. And as far as, keep raising the debt limit and kicking this can down the road, I blame every congressman that's in the United States right now in the House of Representatives, because it's their duty by the Constitution to give a budget, to submit a budget every year to the President of the United States. And we haven't had a budget, I believe, since probably Clinton, I think, is the last time we actually had a budget, maybe Obama's first year where we had a budget, but that's in violation of the Constitution as well. What we have to do, we need to really get back to the Constitution. That document is a great document. It's a document that has worked for over 270 years, and we have to really go back to doing that, and that's in the halls of Congress. Because any law, if you look at Frederick Bastiat said in his essay called "The Law," any law that perverts the Constitution, any law that does not protect the citizens' life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is a perverted law, and is unjust and should not be. So we really need to get back to submitting laws that are correct for the people of the United States, that protect our life, liberty, and the pursuit of property and happiness. And until that happens, we won't go back to being the country that we should be. And I aim to take us back there to really get back to the Constitution.
All right. Thank you. I'm glad you mentioned Bastiat. It's a great read for all the watchers to read The Law by Frederick Bastiat.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about executive orders again. We bounced back to that to talk about what President Biden has done by assuming unconstitutional powers and declaring that all federal workers be forced to take the COVID-19 injection. Even worse, he is demanding private businesses do the same. Do you see this as an end run around the Constitution and the legislative process, and will you oppose such executive overreach?
This is communism in the United States. Let's just tell it let's just say what it is. No citizen should be forced to do anything that they don't want to do. And I'll take it a little further than that. This is in violation of the Commerce Clause. No citizen should be forced to engage in commerce. And what it is, they've paid money for these vaccines. They owe money. And so now they're going to force the people to get these vaccines in order to pay the money back to the pharmaceutical companies, where the pharmaceutical companies can get their money back. If they're gaining a monetary value and they are making money and profits on these vaccines, then it's commerce. And the citizens of the United States, by the Commerce Clause, do not have to engage in commerce. And not only that, we are free people. The last time I checked, we're still free people. And we have the right to determine what goes in or out of our bodies. Okay, we have the right to determine if we want to do that. And that's the freedom of choice. If people choose to want to do that, then you go and you choose to want to do that. For people that do not, then we should have the law on our side to protect us from not having to subjugate ourselves to that. And like Biden, if he's taking away people's way of life, that's taking away people's pursuit of happiness. He's in total violation of the Constitution. These mandates are not laws. First of all, mandates are not laws. The president does not mandate. He cannot mandate. He cannot enforce. He cannot create laws. And that's what's happening. And the people of the United States of America need to understand that. And I believe people are finally waking up, because it's affecting them personally. Now, at first, it wasn't affecting them personally. They thought they were doing the right thing. But this is all about control. And it is in direct violation of our civil rights. It's in direct violation of our God-given rights. And it's in direct violation of the Constitution of the United States. And it needs to be stopped.
Absolutely. I think a lot of people forget that we got rid of a king back in 1776.
We fought a war over that, right?
Absolutely. So let's talk. We got one more national issue. We'll talk a little bit about Virginia. Okay. We'll talk about schools again because we've all seen the destruction of the government school system. I dare not call it public across America. And this all began with the creation of the unconstitutional U.S. Department of Education. This agency uses the tax dollars of Americans to bribe states into adopting horrible curriculums such as critical race theory. Oh, and we can't forget about Common Core. And those funds are also used to fight against school choice at the state and local level. So will you support reevaluating, possibly ending the United States Department of Education?
Well, I mentioned that earlier, and I didn't even know this question was coming up. So yeah, I'm definitely in favor of abolishing the Department of Education, and I'm definitely in favor of school choice. The money should follow the kid, because we pay our taxes to these public schools, and so that way we pay our taxes. We fund these schools. We elect these school board members, so we should have say what is being taught to our children. And if we want to remove our children out of these public school systems, then our tax dollars should go with us. It should go with our kids where we want to put them in school. So I'm definitely a proponent of a supporter of school choice, definitely. And I would definitely be sponsoring a bill for that as well.
All right, thank you. Okay, let's talk about some questions that are based here in Virginia, because as you know, we have a state election going on right now. And currently, every Democratic candidate around Virginia is openly advocating for the repeal of right to work, even though over 80% of citizens across the United States agree that no one should be forced to pay union dues just to have a job. So the question is, will you support a national right to work bill so that Virginians and all Americans never again have to face the prospect of forced union dues?
I definitely will support that because we do have the right to work, because that's part of the pursuit of happiness. That's part of our way of life. So I definitely will support that. And I believe having to pay union dues in my opinion, is against the RICO statutes. That's extortion. To me, you have to pay dues in order to work. You have to pay dues in order to pursue your happiness in life. No, that's preposterous. I would definitely support and we shouldn't have to. Let's just say that we shouldn't have to even sponsor a bill to do that. It's sad that we are at this state, of in this country to where we have to write a law that says that we don't have to pay dues to anyone to work. So where are we? So I'm definitely, and if it has to come to that, definitely will support and sponsor a right to work bill in the law, definitely.
All right, thank you. All right, here's another question. We'll talk about constitutional carry now. Currently in Virginia, law-abiding citizens have to pay a tax and beg the government's permission to bear arms concealed. Not only that, but many states prohibit Virginians from bearing arms for self-defense, like neighboring Maryland. Would you support a national constitutional carry bill to enable all law-abiding citizens to bear arms in every state in the Republic without paying a tax or begging the government's permission?
Any type of gun control is against the Constitution. It's against the Second Amendment, our right to bear arms, period. Okay, we have that right. So we shouldn't have to beg permission. We should not have to pay a tax. We should not have to ask anybody to bear arms. So I definitely would be in favor if we have to, write a law for constitutional carry, a bill for that, definitely. Because the Constitution says that we have the right to bear arms, and that shall, and that's a very, very important word in the in legalese. Okay, when you talk in court battles, it says shall. So it shall not be infringed, period. And that's the law. So I should be able to carry anything I want at any time I want, any place I want, because my right to that is guaranteed to me by the Constitution, and that shall not be infringed. But yes, I'll definitely be in favor of a constitutional carry bill.
All right, thank you. I have one more question here. We're going to talk about the right to life now. Okay. Virginia's current governor, Ralph Northam, has said that if a child is born alive through a botched abortion, that it would be kept comfortable until the doctor or the mother decides to kill it. How a country treats its most vulnerable is a clear judgment of the morality of the government and the people. Would you support a national life at conception act to protect all children, born or unborn?
Absolutely, that's murder. And to me, it is extermination. I take this one really, really close to heart because most of these extermination centers are in neighborhoods like mine. We have aborted more Black babies than any other nationality in the world since this law, since this ruling, came about. So I take it pretty personal. We used to be, people don't understand this, but we used to be 26% of the population, Black people, African Americans, whatever you want to call it. But we used to be 26% of the population. Now we're 13% of the population. So obviously we're doing something wrong and we're going backwards, and we are exterminating ourselves, not only with the Black on Black crime, but with these extermination centers being in our neighborhoods. So like I said, if we have to support a bill, write a bill to protect life, okay, because life does begin at conception. And if anyone, there's two things, they say it's the choice, right? Well, what are your choices, right? You have the choice of life, or you have the choice of death. There are only two choices. Okay, so I choose life, and I'll always choose life. And I mean, and even in court battles, if a person kills a pregnant woman, right, they get charged with double murder, right? So what is that? Why does a person, if he kills a woman that's pregnant and the baby dies, why does he get charged with double murder? Because that's a life. Okay, so if that's a life, then we have to protect that life at all costs and at any stage of that life. So yeah, I definitely would be in favor of supporting a bill of that, because I am a supporter. I'm pro-life, and I believe that life begins at conception, period.
All right, but thank you. Thank you, Chief Bell. That ends the questions that I have for you. But I want to give you the opportunity to discuss issues or topics that we haven't addressed yet to help enlighten voters on your stances. So you have the floor, sir.
All right, well, thank you. Well, I think we covered pretty much actually the spectrum of questions. Those are great questions, but I really would like to, we have a problem here in the United States of not supporting veterans. Me being a veteran, I spent nearly 3 decades of my life, supporting and defending this country. And we are allowing our veterans to go by the wayside. We are allowing illegals to come into this country before we support veterans. So I would actually like to sponsor a law and say that I would sponsor a law that we need to take care of veterans before illegals. Okay, veterans before refugees, veterans before any other person that comes to this country. And that goes along with my immigration moratorium stance and my platform, is that we would take care of our veterans. We would take care of the citizens of the United States first. We would take care of the people that protected this country, that protect us sleeping at night, that protect, our borders, that's gone to protect other borders, other countries, and giving up their life and giving up their limbs and giving up their mental capacity. I mean, we have the highest rate of suicide is within veterans, and so we have to protect our vets, and it's a travesty that we don't. So that's one of the things that I'm definitely a big supporter of, that we have to do. And I mean, and like I said, voter integrity is a big thing of mine right now. We have to, because I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, if you're living and if you have eyes and if you even, just have a conscience. We know something happened in the 2020 election. I call it a steal. I call it major fraud. A lot of candidates won't say that. A lot of candidates will, shy away, from the issue is that there was a coup d'etat in the United States. We saw it. We saw a coup happen in the United States where a duly elected president of the United States was taken down by fraudulent claims of impeachment, was impeached twice, was impeached the second time unconstitutionally because he wasn't even a sitting president. You cannot even impeach a person that is not the sitting president. So how are they able to do that? So we really have to go back and hold people accountable. Accountability is a problem in this country, within our country, within our elected officials. We have to hold our elected officials accountable on both sides of the aisle, not just the Democrats, because I'm a Republican, but there were Republicans that participated in this coup as well. And people want to shy away from that. And that's one reason I'm suspended. I stay suspended on social media because I'm going to tell you the truth, and I'm going to tell you the hard truth, whether you want to hear it or not. And another thing is we have to get away from the agendas. Okay, we have too many agendas where the minorities of people are taking over rights of the majority. Okay, we have to get away from those as well. So I'll speak and I'll talk about anything. I tell you the truth. You may not like my answers. Sometimes, then you may be against me, but I don't write the fence, and I'll never write the fence. You're going to know which side I'm on of the fence, this side or that side, without exception. Where any of the other people that you're going to talk to, that you may talk to, and they may be running against me, you won't know, because they shy away from the hard answers. They shy away from the truth. They shy away from the controversial answers. That's why they write hit pieces against me, because the Democrats know and the GOP establishment know that I'm their worst nightmare. I'm their worst enemy because I'm for the people. I'm an America First person. I'm going to always be for the people. I'm going to do what's right by the people and rule and write laws and legislate by the Constitution and the Constitution only.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Again, I'd like to thank you, Chief Jarome Bell. You are a candidate for the 2nd congressional seat here in Virginia, and thank you so much for joining us. I'd like to thank We the People 2020 today for hosting our program. The website to find out more information about Jarome or about the program and the different interviews we're doing, you can go to www.wethepeople2020.today. Thank you so much, and God bless.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. God bless you too.